What we have today is a review of your grammar. Yes, it will be a review of subjunctives, but it'll also be a review of your cases, and it'll also be a review of passive paraphrastics. Okay, cases and the passive paraphrastic. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk about today is how do you recognize the subjunctive? So the subjunctive is the new stuff you learned at the beginning of Latin 2. The most easily recognizable is your pluperfect tense. It has an ISSE. Let me see if I can write this without making it look ugly. It has an ISSE. And when you see the ISSE, you will say had. Non-negotiable. Pluperfect has a subjunctive and it also has an indicative. And the indicative would be a V sucks long E before your sign. So a V sucks and an ERA. Does it need to go in that order? And the answer is yes. When you see this, it'll also be had. Remember, the subjunctive is used in certain types of ways, and these are the ways that you're going to recognize them. So if I don't have a cum clause or an indirect question or a purpose clause or a result clause or an indirect command, that means I just have a statement or a question, and that's when I use the indicative, okay? So the indicative mood is the regular old stuff, okay? So that means when I think of imperfect, I think of BA. And when I have a BA, I always translate it as was or were. So what does the imperfect subjunctive look like? The imperfect subjunctive is an infinitive plus an ending. So what that means for me is it'll have an RE plus something on the end of it. An example of that would be here. At like spectarent, RE plus an ending, okay? So over here, not all infinitives have an RE, so you need to be aware that welle, want, posse, be able, nole, not want, and esse are all subjunctives, okay? So when I take my performance final, I'm going to have to recognize subjunctives, and I'm going to have to recognize a subjunctive clause. So the first subjunctive clause you ever learned was cum plus a subjunctive. What we notice while you guys are taking your test is that you look for the cum. Please make sure you're also looking for the subjunctive, because cum can be used in other ways, and if you only look for one half of it, you might get it wrong. Now, an indirect question is a three-part section, okay? So the first thing that it is going to have, and I'm going to color code for you guys today, it's going to have a head verb. When I say head verb, it means things that you do in your head. You can ask. You can think, putat. Let me make that actually the right word. You can understand, so on and so forth. Then what's going to happen is that you'll have a question word. So a question word for us in Latin can be cor, quomodo, quis, anything that asks a question, okay? And then following behind that will be your subjunctive. Now, Ms. Campbell, what do you mean by subjunctive? I mean back up here, subjunctive stuff, okay? A purpose clause, it'll be three-parter as well. The first thing that it's going to have is an action verb. Then it's going to have the word ut. Now, ut goes into a lot of things, okay? Then you will have a subjunctive. So if you're like trying to come up with, hey, is there some sort of plan to look for? The answer is hex yeah. So a result clause will also have an ut, but before the ut, it'll have a so word like tom, talus, tote, ita, sick, and adeo. So that'll be first. Then you'll have an ut, and then you'll have a subjunctive. So notice it's almost always the same sort of plan, okay? Something's going to introduce the subjunctive. An indirect command is also going to have an ut, but before the ut, it will have a speaking word. And by speaking word, you can go look at imperat, you can look at rogat, you can look at eubet, orat, which means beg, persuadet, which means persuade. There's a bunch of speaking words. Then you'll have an ut, and then you'll have your subjunctive. Okay, so you've got the plan here for what to do. Keep this in mind. To keep this in mind, you're going to use that because you're going to have to find me a subjunctive clause and translate a subjunctive clause. Passive paraphrastics will come to in a moment. So let's do what I just said, okay? First, I'm going to say, hey guys, find me a subjunctive clause. The three types of words, you look for an ut, you look for a question word, or you look for the word cum. Any of those is going to start it. So here I have an ut, here's 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 an ut. Okay, fantastic. But I have three different type of clauses that have ut, so you have to look before it. So when I look before it, I have omnes cives ad silvam contenderunt. So I ask myself, is there a so word? But Miss Campbell, what do you mean by that? I mean these words, tam, talis, tot, ita, sic, adeo. And the answer is no, there is no so word. So this is not a result clause. Then I ask myself, is there a speaking word? Now, is contenderunt a speaking word? And the answer is hex no, it means hurry. So I look over here and I go, purpose clause has an action verb, but indirect command has a speaking word. So this one, hurry, is action. So guys, I have just found a purpose clause. So I'm going to do that. Purpose is going to be, oh gosh, that is so ugly, y'all, and I am sorry. Let me make it pretty. This is a purpose clause. Woohoo. Now, the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is say, now what is the purpose clause part of it, guys? It's actually ut to spectarent, okay? For your performance final, I would do the entire sentence so that you know what's happening. So let's translate. How do you do it? How do you break it down? 1, anytime you have the ut, the question word, or the cum, this means you can cut the sentence in half. Cut it in half before the ut. Okay, you've already cut all of your sentences in half. What? Loving it. Now, you're going to go through and you're going to follow your same pattern of translation. You need to know your cases. You need to definitely know your nominative. Definitely know your accusative. Okay, so I have my verb contenderunt, which is right here. Who are doing the contenderunting? Omnes cives. So what are they? They are all the citizens. Okay, so I did my nominative first because that's my job. And then I do my verb. Salve. Contenderunt. Hurried. Where? Ad silvam. To the forest. To the forest. So a purpose clause tells me why. Ut. In order to. Leonem mortuum spectarent. Now, if you look at the em and the um on these words, you will see that they are accusative. You recognize an accusative by em, os, os, ace, and you always translate them after the verb, okay? So, don't translate that yet. Go to spectarent. What does it mean? Look. All the citizens hurried to the forest. Why? To look at, and what am I looking at? A dead lion. That's morbid. Sorry. Hey! Now, let's do number 5. Vos saepe monebam ut diligentissime laboretis. Okay, so today I have an ut. So my question beforehand is, does it have a so word? So does it have a tom, talis, tot, ita, sik, adeo? No, it does not. Now it has monebam. This is my verb, and remember, I always look at my verbs to figure out, is it an action verb or a speaking word? So you need to know what the word means, and it means worn. If it means worn, this is a speaking word. So a speaking word turns this into an indirect command. So let's read. I do the first half first, I do the second half second. Keep it separate. Look at the M on the end of my verb. And M equals ego, so I. Then it has a BA. Was. The meaning means warn. I was warning. Wos, y'all. And then saipe, often. You can put that word often anywhere, but there you go. I was warning y'all often. Ut. And then that's where you get to go. You get to do the second half second, right? I was warning you all often, ut, to diligentissime laboratis. Laboratis means work, to work. And then do you see the double S in diligentissime? This means it's a superlative. So I don't even want you working diligently. I want you working very diligently. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so how do we deal with the sentence? You break them in half, right? Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to talk about, I got ubi. Here, let's do number 11. Amicus meus cognoscere voluit ubi habitaretus. Remember, I'm looking for an ut, a cum, or a question word. My question word here is ubi. This is where I break my sentence in half, okay? So, how do we do this? Wanted, and it's amicus meus starts it, right? So you do this half first, and then with the thing, do the second half second. So you say my friend, subject, verb, wanted, cognoscere, RE by itself means it's an infinitive, to know. And then I need to know ubi, where. Now, do you see the tis on the end of my verb? The tis means you. Wanted to know where you lived. Okay. Over here, number 9, we have cum canam. I want you to check out my cum clause. Cum canam tuum consubsistes, centurio te quae rebat. I have a cum clause, so that's easy. That means translate up to the comma and then do the next bit of the comma. Then do the stuff after the comma. So in a cum clause, cum means when. So when. Now notice the here and the here. That means translate them last. So go to your verb, consubsistes, ends with an S. S is you. So when you, and it's got an isse, had, eaten your dinner, nominative, the centurion, remember it's an officer in the army, BA, was searching for you. Okay. Let's do, so that was a cum clause. We've done an indirect question. We've done a purpose clause. The only thing we have not done is a result. So I need one that has a result in it, and I don't know if we do. Oh, here it is, 18. Let's do this one. To find a result, remember I wanted a so word. That's tot. At the ut, remember you break it down in half. So I only translate one half. When I'm done with that, then I go to the second half, okay? So it says habebas, S, you. Habebas had. Tot servos, so many slaves. And so what's the result of that? So ut in a result clause equals that. So it changes its meaning. You had so many slaves that, do the S, you, non posses, were not able to count them. Ooh, I don't know if my thing's going to let me do it. Yes. Okay, fantastic. All right, last but not least, we have got, so these are your subjunctive clauses and how to translate them. There's one last thing I need you to be aware of, and that's the passive periphrastic. There are two things that you're going to look for when you have to find them. The first one is ND, and the other one is a form of sum. So you could have est, sum, sunt, whatever. So you need both of those things. You give me one of those things, it's wrong. When you translate, you do dative, must, blank, which means with your passive periphrastic, you have to know the dative ending. So you sing in your head, I-O-E, yes, that's the dative. Use these endings when you show, tell, or give. Is, ibis. Is to or for, with indirect objects, special verbs, and more. So here I have mihi. So mihi is the dative, and you say mihi, I must, and whatever the verb means, and it means run. Let's do it again. Quinto iter facendum est. So what's your dative? Oh, quinto says it's quinto. Quintus must, because it's got the nd and the est, must make a journey. Let's do one more. I need a dative. Discipulis. And then, do I have an nd? Yes. Do I have an est? Yes. The students must work. Okay. If you have questions about your endings, if you have questions about your subjunctives, and if you have questions about anything, reach out to your teachers. We want to help you. Wale!